Welcome to today's Momentum Monday. Our masterclass today is going to be on boosting your memory, and we're going to go over a few different master techniques to really bring in recall to the next level. So before we dive into that, let's just talk a little bit about how our memory processes and how this works in our brain. So when we start to intake information, we are in a process called encoding. We are going to bring the information in, understand it, hopefully understand it, and then potentially even alter the information so we can understand it better. The second step is it goes into storage. This is like our mental file cabinet. If it's a short-term memory, it's going to store for 15 to 30 seconds. Long-term memory is going to be immense and indefinite. Something really unique about short-term memory is we can only remember between 5 and 9 memories at once, and the average person is typically 7 memories at once that we can remember. So if we bring something new in, something's going out, and if it doesn't go into long-term memory, it is lost into the ether. Then we go through the retrieval process. This is when we're retrieving the information either from short-term memory or long-term memory. When it's in short-term memory, we typically are going to remember it in the order that we learned it. Where in long-term memory, we typically need to remember it by either association or reconstruction. So our fun activities that we are about to do are going to do a lot with association and reconstruction, so we can figure out how to learn something to then be able to recall it later, like for an exam. So memory exercises, we are going to start with a visualization exercise. So bear with me in this moment, take a deep breath, get really centered and present in this moment. Our brain really loves images, so it's easy for us to picture a vivid memory when we're trying to bring something up. So let's do a quick exercise. I want you to just close your eyes and imagine an apple. When you think about that apple, I want you to really start to put a lot of emphasis on what that apple looks like. Is it shiny? Is it golden? Is it red? Is it green? Is it a Honeycrisp? Is it a Fuji apple? Really start to put into play all of the things that you can think about when it comes to visualizing the apple. Once you've got that, really start to use your imagination and pretend the apple has wings. We're sprouting the wings out of the apple. It's starting to fly around the room. It's becoming shinier and brighter and bigger as the wings start to flutter all the way around your home. Now let's think back. When I said visualize an apple, from like easy to hard, how was visualizing the apple?
Easy.
When it comes to visualizing the apple with big golden wings flying all over your home, was that easier or harder?
Easy.
Easy, absolutely. So in general, these visualization tricks are going to be helpful. So if you're trying to remember something, whether it's a concept or vocabulary or something that you're just memorizing or even names, try to add more information to it to make it more visually appealing for your brain so you are able to bring that memory up in an easier way. The next is memory palace. Memory palace, also known as the method of Loki, is a really unique practice that some people can harness to remember some absolutely incredible amounts of information. This works for some people and it doesn't work for other people. This is considered an ancient and highly effective way of memorizing. However, it really takes a lot of practice to do this. The easiest way, in my opinion, to do this is to picture something that you have been through millions of times. This could be your home, it could be your childhood home, it could be your grandma's home, it could be, if you like the Met Gala, something that you're like, I could walk through this in complete dark and I wouldn't stub my toe. I know exactly where everything is. What is that place for you?
My home.
Yeah, perfect. So once you have that place, we're going to do another visualization. I want you to close your eyes and picture that you are outside of your home. Visualize the door, the color, the texture, the hardware. Now imagine stepping inside of your home. Pay attention to everything you see. Is there a rug? What's the floor look like? What's on the wall? Is there any beautiful pictures? What's the staircase look like? What's the hallway look like? Really start to imagine you are walking through your home, picturing every little detail you can. Now, this is a great way to remember a list, or if you're trying to remember something north to south, east to west, anything along those lines, we are going to place certain items in your home as you're walking through it. And then later we will go back and try to remember where those things were. So we're going to try to remember 3 items for the sake of our 30 minutes today. You can do this with a lot more items, and I recommend you do it going forward just to practice it. So the first item we're going to try to remember is an apple. So when you're walking through your home, picture an apple. It can be glowing, it can be wings, it can be green, it can be red, anything you want. And place that apple somewhere in the entrance of your home. Maybe you hang it on the doorknob. Maybe it's around rolling around on the floor. Make it really vivid and try to put it in a specific place in your home right when you enter it. Once you have that, make the image as clear as possible and then start to think of a second really obvious place where we're going to put our next item. Our next item is a book. This is gigantic, old leather-bound book that you think you would see in like Harry Potter or Charmed or something that's got all the spells in it. Make that as memorable as you can. Think about the leather binding, think about the weathered pages, think about the thickness of the leather, the color of the leather, and find a second place in your home. This maybe is on your couch, on your entry table, on anything that comes to your brain. Visualize that book opening in that area that you're putting it on. Now, the third item is going to be a hat. The hat can be any kind of hat you want, baseball cap, cowboy hat, big purple hat with feathers on it, anything you would like. Once you have that hat in your brain, pick another place within your view of your home. This could be maybe on a picture frame on the hallway, on the dining room table, anywhere that makes sense for this next area of your house. Really think about putting that hat down, picking it up, what it would look like, where it would be stored, how this would be. Now let's take a mental walk through your memory palace. Go back outside. Start at the entrance and walk through each location where you placed each item. First, notice the apple, its color, where you put it, how it makes you feel when you see it. Next, visualize the book, how it looks on wherever you placed it, how the leather feels. Then make your way to the hat. Imagine how it fits or doesn't fit in that spot. Maybe even potentially putting it on your head. So when you think about this memory palace, what would be the easiest way or the thing that comes up to your brain that I want to use this technique to remember X, Y, and Z?
I don't know yet.
That's okay.
You said a list of things, and I'm like trying to think of like, oh, champagne bottle sizes.
Ooh.
And it's like, yeah, I don't think I think I need some like an acronym or something for that. Or if you were doing all the ABAs, a California, That seems a little harder to do. So I have to think of something else that would fit there. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious what you think of. Once you decide to how you want to use it, put it on Instagram or Facebook and let me know what you decide. I'm really curious. All right, the next is chunking. And chunking, if you have seen our concentration companion planner, this is 100% the focus behind the way we created that, which is chunking. Our brain remembers information so much better when we chunk it. So you think about if you put a phone number out there, we always chunk it 334, rather than saying the full 10 digits or 9 digits all side by side. So if I were to say the numbers 14921728836, your brain is like, hold on, that was too many numbers at once. I can't even remember it. Where if you chunk it into 149, 217, 2836, it makes our brain be able to remember it better because we just put it into chunks. The best way I like to think about chunking, especially when it comes to studying, is when you're having to study a place. And so you just mentioned Napa. So let's take Napa, for instance. We're trying to remember the AVAs. So let's chunk the AVAs. We're going to chunk the AVAs that are on the Maya Camus range. We're going to chunk the AVAs that are on the Vaca range. And then we're going to chunk the AVAs that are down the middle on the valley. And it's usually easier when you're studying in chunks to be able to remember things better. A more broad example of this would be studying Germany. A lot of people are like, I'm going to study all of Germany all in a week. Well, once you've done that, 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, when you go back to your review, you're like, shoot, was Dr. Vineyard in Rheingau? Was it in Mosel? Was it in R? I just studied everything together. I can't remember where any of this stuff is. I can't pronounce some of these things. I don't even know. And it's like your whole week of Germany just went out the window. Where if you go, okay, I'm going to chunk this by Anbogavits and I'm going to solely focus on Mosel. And then you go to like Napa. And then I'm going to solely focus on Rheingau. And then you go to, I don't know, South Australia, something. It chunks your brain to remember them together in their own way, rather than it being all discombobulated and trying to remember everything all at once. And then our last is mnemonics. Mnemonics is huge. And you already mentioned, maybe you need an acronym for, for something. An acronym is a mnemonic. So some of the most common ones that we've probably heard all of our lives, and I literally still use this one, all of them to the T, is your months of the year, which one has 30 days, which ones has 31 days, using your knuckles. If your knuckle goes up, it's a 31-day month. If your knuckle goes down, it's a 30-day month. And then you start from your pinky all the way over. And when your two knuckles are together, July and August both have 31 for who knows what reason, but your knuckles tell you that.
I have never seen or heard of that before. That is amazing.
You haven't? Oh,
no. Roy G. Biv is like yes, that one I know, but the others, like, no. Wow, that's great.
Yep, Roy G. Biv for the alphabet. And then you can do it in some sort of storytelling form as well. This is really common for math. You can either remember PEMDAS, which some people remember that, some people don't. Or you can remember, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally.
Sally, yep.
Yep. That one always was used even when I was a kid. I think my grandpa even used that when he was a kid. I think it's been around forever. To remember parentheses, exponent, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction in the way that we're supposed to do our math problems. And then, of course, you can do NASA or ASAP for as soon as possible. You can make a whole word out of the first letter of each word that you're trying to remember to be able to remember it better. Typically, the more unique you can make these to the way your brain works, the better. So some people are like, I want it to be really nerdy. I want it to be really funny. I want it to be really dirty. Whatever it is, whatever works for your brain, try to capitalize on that and don't judge yourself for the way that your brain works. If you immediately go to, something really dirty for your brain to remember it, that's okay. You don't have to share it with people. You just got it for yourself. And I say that because that's the way my brain would remember things. And I don't often share the things that I did because people are like, whoa. But you only got to do it for you. Just remember it for yourself. All right. So next is active recall and spaced repetition. We go through this a ton in coaching. So this for you specifically is something you're very used to, but I'm for all of the people watching the recording, this is great to just really dive into. So active recall is the purpose or the process of actively making yourself recall something. And this can be in a few different ways. It can be with flashcards. This can be a practice exam. This could be walking through a wine store and going down and looking at a label and saying, okay, I need to remember everything about this label. This is a Beaujolais. I know the cru is here. It's got this soil. It's got these grapes. It has to have this sort of winemaking. And this is what this carbonic is and X, Y, and Z. And you just I would do this all the time, and the wine store clerks would come over and be like, "Are you okay? Can I help you?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm just quizzing myself right now." And they're like, "Okay, you looked a little lost." So I was like, "Yeah, I'm lost in my brain right now. Don't bother me." And it's a really easy way to get yourself out of your normal study environment, and to actively quiz yourself and make your brain work. And then anything that you couldn't remember, because if you're in the middle of a wine store, it's not always the easiest to go remember, like go look stuff up. You got a notebook with you, you got your notes app on your phone, just write it down. Crap, I didn't remember this. And because you didn't remember it and you go look it up, you actually will be able to remember it better. And this is almost the same exact concept as spaced review. So for those of you who look directly with me, you know I want you to review all the way back to week 1 every 5 weeks. And we do that purposely because we have a forgetting curve. And the more new the information is into our brain, the steeper the forgetting curve is. So if we keep reviewing it every 5 weeks, our forgetful curve is going to be almost non-existent. So we purposely do every 5 weeks review all the way back to week 1, even though it seems daunting when you start it. But once you actually get into it, you're like, oh, this is not so bad. I already created all my information. I'm just reviewing it. And it makes it easier for you to retain the information and then recall the information so you can ace that exam. So let's revisit your memory palace. Walking in through that front door, what is the first thing that you saw?
From the apple piece or just in general?
Yep, your apple.
Oh yeah, so I know where my apple is. Yeah.
Yep. And then what is the second item that you placed?
Oh yeah, my big, large Harry Potter book.
Yep. And then what
And
was
then
the third
my
item?
hat.
How easy was that?
Yeah, very.
Yes. And so the more you do that, I've seen some people do this for an immense amount of information. Start slow, start simple, and then bring yourself up to it.
Yeah, so I think the challenge that I see with that is that I already really know what a hat, a book, and an apple is.
Oh, fair.
So the challenge is that if I'm trying to put things in spaces that I don't know well, or
Mm-hmm.
I can't conjure up a 3D, I think that's the harder thing for me is like, how do I get a 3-dimensional view of what it looks like, smells like, tastes like, color, la, 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 of like
Yeah.
a place
Yeah.
that I stick a place somewhere, or yeast strains, or vats, or finding material, for
Yeah.
example. Like finding material seems easier, or equipment seems easier because it's like a 3-dimensional thing that
Yeah.
is, and it's one thing. It's like if you were to put Mosul in a room, like okay, but I feel like Mosul in a room is fine for the word Mosul and it's sitting in this room. That's great. But there's like all that cataloging that needs to go behind it that I'm going to need other things beyond just putting it somewhere. So I
Yeah.
don't know if are there any, for people that do the palace, are there types of information that work better than others for storing them in your palace, or it
Everybody's a
could just
little
be
different.
anything?
Everybody's a little different. So some people can tie the word right to a thing and it works directly for them. For me, I struggle a little bit more with that. I need something more tangible to be able to really dive into, like what you're describing. So what I did is I would make up a story as I was going through my brain. So let's just use Mosul, for instance. Don't totally quote me because I can't remember exactly north to south where all these things are anymore. But you know, you're walking through, you walk into your house, you step on the rug, Erdenertreption, I think, is the first one. So, okay, my rug is red, and I would actually just make up the memory palace. So I would alter my
Oh,
palace a
yeah.
little bit. So I would be able to remember this better because I can remember stories pretty well. And so, okay,
Mm,
on my rug is red. The soil there is a red slate. So because of that, I would remember Erdenertreptions first. Next, you walk down and it's, oh, the next one, which is really similar words, but it's blue slate. So okay, my blue towel is sitting on the floor because my boyfriend left it on the floor and it's driving me nuts, and it's really steep vineyards there. So I remember that because I'm so mad and it's really steep and I'm blah, whatever.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And so I would play it that way. And
Yeah,
then
that makes sense.
I would have
Yeah.
to do it a couple times though. But once I did it a couple times, it would stick in there. And
Hmm.
again, it's one of those spaced repetition things. You need to keep repeating it, and we're like bringing yourself back to that memory palace, especially if you're altering your memory palace.
Hmm.
But if you can alter in a way that is like common for you, like the boyfriend or the husband leaves the towel on the floor, the shoes are in the middle of the air, something like that, things that are
Yeah.
things that you would experience, it makes it easier to remember.
Interesting. Yeah.
Mm. Make it a story with the palace.
Yeah.
And then you're almost combining two things at once. You're combining almost a realm of mnemonics with a realm of memory palace, which
Yeah.
brings it into your brain in two separate ways at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Which was the most comfortable for you?
Um, I think it's the visual appeal
Mm,
piece because I feel like I had to do that first before I could stick it in my palace.
yep.
I think mnemonics work really well for me. My challenge is creating them.
Yeah.
So someone else made Roy G. Biv, somebody else made Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally, and then I just remembered them. But
Yeah.
like I've been trying to do a mnemonic for champagne bottles for years, and I get stuck on like the last two letters to make a sentence make sense or a thing. And then I get stuck doing that, and then I don't remember my own mnemonic. And so like then it just becomes a mess. So I feel like those could work better for me if I actually maybe I just leaned more into what my brain needs or thinks, like your point about humor or other, like I've never thought about it. I just try to find a word to make a sentence that would make sense, and then like it very quickly falls apart. So
Yeah. Yeah. None of my stuff would actually make sense if I said it out loud, but it makes sense in my brain. And again, my brain went dirty with it, but a potential way for you to like learn a mnemonic would be to capitalize on AI and type in the list and be like, of all of the models, and be like, I need you to make a mnemonic or an acronym or whatever out
oh, I
of.
never even thought about it. Yeah, that's
And
great.
that way it's telling you, and you don't have to use your brain power to think of it. You just have to use your brain power to remember it.
Yeah, yeah,
AI
that's
is
cool.
great these times. It took me so long to accept using AI, and now I'm like, oh, it's like my assistant.
Yeah, okay, that's cool.
All right. So remember, memory is like a muscle. The more you train it, the better it gets. And it's always hard in the beginning. You go to the gym for the first time, you're like, oh my God, I'm sore. Oh, this sucks. Oh, my back hurts. Oh, this. But after you've done it consistently for a month or two, you're like, oh, okay, this is okay. It's not so bad. I can wake up. I can do this. And memory is the same exact way. You just have to practice it.